Okay, here I am on Monday. Just getting my motor running. It's early in the morning. It's not even 7:30 yet. On Monday, the 18th of November. Cheers. Hope everyone's doing okay. Hope you were good over the weekend. I had a fairly regular weekend. There were events, but I didn't go to any. I stayed here and worked in the studio every day. Um, if you see this, Luke, an old friend, Luke Polipnik, was in a band called, oh, man, something. I can't even remember the name of the band right now. I just woke up. But Luke Polipnik is currently playing with the Flying Lutenbachers. You folks heard of that band? Well, they are on tour, and they came through, but they came through to Lincoln. And Luke was bugging me hard about, you got to come down. The guys in Lutenbachers want to meet you and stuff. And I said, well, that's cool, but my car, I don't want to risk driving from one city to the next while the car is quite questionable. And I'm putting it off. I am. It's like I don't drive that much. It'll get done. But Flying Lutenbachers played over the weekend. Pamela Z played. I didn't go. Did I miss something? Well, yeah, I missed something, but so what? I was at home working, and I did that instead. So, Richard, when you see this, and I will put this in the thumbnail, Saturday, or was it Friday, we spoke. You asked me if I'd received this, and sure enough, it came that day in the mail. The new reverse image CD on Fourth Dimension Records, Towards the Nocturnal Sun. Well, I got to tell you, people, and Richard, this is likely one of my favorite artists on your label. This is good stuff. I played this twice. I fell into it. It's electronic, but it's varied. There's melodic aspects to it. There's tonal and timbral aspects to it that I really like, that are sometimes pleasing, sometimes engaging, and other times kind of sharp and edgy. And that contrast is pretty cool. As I was listening to it, it doesn't sound like, but it brought to mind Tim Blake's Crystal Machine for a second, part of this. I love the graphics, and I can highly recommend this. This is a good one. Reverse Image. I think this is the second title that I have by them. Thank you for sharing that, Richard, as always. And also, thank you, Richard, for being a real friend, and letting me know that, yeah, it's important to you that I'm honest and that you stand by it. Some people don't want frankness. They just want to hear what they want to hear. I'm not like that. I want to know what you really think. And I'm going to tell you what I really think. Still, basically, I've just stepped away from the madness of the world. I check in and see. Well, the message that the world is sending is that if you're rich, you can do anything you want. The rules don't matter because you're rich, and you can get away with anything. That's what I see going on in this world. And it just pisses me off, so I have to turn away. So, in that sense, is music an escape now? more than ever? No, but it is the refuge. That's the term that I prefer to use. It is where I dwell mentally, that makes sense to me and that I can thrive in. I'll show you some records. I got some here. Besides being, I have 6 new compositions in working, and it's one of those times where I'm really working hard. Every day. It's like something comes up. So it's like sculpting. Um, I have a basic approach to how I compose, although I try not to repeat myself. And so when I try new things, I try very much to get the things listenable soon. So these 6 new pieces are all very listenable already, but not done. I'm sculpting them. It's fun and it's engaging and it's a lifesaver. I'll say that again. Folks who stay connected with the things that they love and excite them probably are the folks who are doing the best in times like this. Okay? So right quick, music besides mine that I've been engaging in. Birds of Fire, Mahavishnu Orchestra. Of course I have a really nice vinyl copy of it, probably my 3rd vinyl copy of it. This album is still nothing like it. Still. Fantastic. Frickin' fantastic. So I did some listening, and I'm kind of glad that I'm a bit over the hump. I was really missing going to the record store for a while, and this weekend I didn't go, and as I was playing records and pulling stuff, it was like, I really don't need any new records. I played some records that I've never listened to all the way through. So let's talk about what I played. Secret Oyster, Furtive Pearl. It's funny, but that's the cover in black and white that it originally came out of in Denmark, which I would prefer. But jazz rock band Coronario Dans is another name for the band. Good playing. On the fusion side, you're talking about Burnin' Red Ivanhoe. I don't have any of their records. I'm familiar with Burnin' Red Ivanhoe, but have never come across any of their records to purchase. This was good, though. Only played one side, but on the jazzy side. Now, this was a nostalgic trip. And when I listen to stuff like this, it really does take me back to my youth in a lot of ways. And it is a bit of an escape. Salvation is the name of the band. You can tell by the cover, this is back hippy dippy days. The early 70s, end of the 60s, Salvation. I like this. And it's very American sounding. There's aspects of it where it's almost country, but it doesn't sound so much country as it reminds me of cowboy movies and the way that cowboy movies hit me when I was a small child. Growing up when I did, cowboy movies and Daniel Boone and Davy Crockett, that stuff was big on TV and Bonanza, and I liked it. And so, even though I was well aware of the injustice, even as a child, I was aware of the injustices of the West regarding Native Americans and stuff. There's still a romance about cowboy days, and some of that is on this album, as well as you see the painted bus So that aspect of hippie, I'm using that word complimentary, okay? That aspect of hippiedom is throughout the album. There's a blues pastiche, which, is really falls flat on its face, as a lot of the blues played by white kids back then did. It's just they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. But overall, this was really enjoyable. Now, this was a trip, because I haven't listened to this in so long, I forgot how eerie this album is. Eerie. Tangerine Dream, Zeit, Atom. See, even called it the wrong name, Atom. I always think I'm listening to Zeit. This is eerie. It's not, it could be scary depending on the person. I found it to be, the feeling that I was getting from the eeriness was like, where are we? And that graphic is perfect. It's like nebulous, floating. We're here, we're there. Shadows emerge, light comes out. And then at the end of the one side, what the voice is, which is like, this shit is really avant-garde. And this is an original on the Or label. I got into this. It's like, wow, I haven't listened to this in a long time. It really showed, again, where Tangerine Dream were groundbreaking. They really were. They were very ahead of the times, which reminds me that one of the few things that I was able to watch, even though I've seen it before, but I started to watch the documentary about Krautrock and I'm looking it up to get the name of it. Krautrock and the Electronic Revolution. I have it on DVD, but I just started watching it on YouTube. It's very, very good. Very good documentary about the emergence of German rock music in the 70s, out of the war and defining themselves. This was a pleasant surprise. I have a lot of Vangelis, so I tend to forget what they sound like. I was over in this section of my records yesterday. So I put this on Sex Power. It caught my attention that Jane Birkin is in the movie, who we know from working with Serge Gainsbourg and other stuff. This is good. And it's not, well, I don't know if there's really a typical, I love covers. I love gatefolds. I don't know that there's a typical Vangelis sound, even though there probably was for a time. This involves the Greek folk aspects as well as just his beautiful piano playing. It's not so, there's some synthesizers, but it's mostly acoustic. Really good. Sex Power. Never seen the movie. I started my day Sunday yesterday with this because it's like, it's rare that I play Keith Jarrett. I have to be not even in the mood. It's just I just have to decide, okay, it's time. Because Keith Jarrett's made so many records that you can take him for granted. I look at that section. It's not that I'm a big Keith Jarrett fan. It's just that his records, you see so many cheaply. Okay, I'll get it because I know it's going to be good. This was perfect for yesterday morning. Treasure Island by Keith Jarrett, 1974. Another magical time in my life. The year 73, I graduated from high school, trying to find my way in the world. The next few years, crazy magical times. This was really fine, and he does that whooping and yelling as he does when he plays, but he contains it enough on here that it's not distracting. Some of his records, that singing along with his playing is it's too much. It ruins it for me. I needed to take a look and say, yes, Dewey Redman on saxophone, Charlie Hayden, of course. I saw them play with him. And this band, yeah, I saw this band. Just got Paul Modian on drums. And Sam Brown on guitar, who is someone who never, great player. He's on a lot of good records, Apparently, he was not interested in the spotlight because he never gained any repute. But Sam Brown is kind of like a Ralph Towner. His contributions to the records he plays to are excellent. What else? This was real cool. I've never seen an original of this because it's collectible. Neil Ardley, A Symphony of Amaranths. This is way cool. And it's a groundbreaking record. This was made way back in 1972 with a jazz ensemble, but also Ivor Cutler, like on side 2, The Dong with a Luminous Nose. 3 poems recited by Ivor Cutler over the music. It's cool. It's wild. It's like in the like a stoned Alice in Wonderland. Alice in Wonderland is stoned. But the first side, the Symphony of Amaranths for Duke Ellington and Gil Evans, it's really wonderfully written and played. There's aspects of it where it's like, wow, I just wish I heard more of this. It's like, it's jazzy, then it goes into these like wispy kind of relieving the planet and kind of netherworld sort of feelings. I'm trying to describe it. This was fantastic. This is really good. Neil Ardley. I have a couple of his other albums. And he's got the players on here. Norma Winstone sings on here. It's beautiful. But the other guys, Harry Beckett, Henry Lowther, folks like that, you know. Stan Tracy. This is really good. Carl Jenkins is on here. Jeff Klein. Dick Hextall Smith. Shit, he's got the Cats on here. Don Rendell. He's got major players from England on here. Excellent. It was so good that it, you know, I'll listen, and oftentimes I'll be listening and browsing or reading. This stopped me, and I had to look at the information and said, this is really something. This is way cool. Neil Ardley. In the same section, and I have to get new plastic for that. Hadn't listened to this for a while. Bought this band because I had been, in my reading about Music International, I would always hear about this band from Europe. Trad Grass Oxtenar. I think it means grass and leaves or something. And this is Talk for Kaffet, is the name of this album. I have another one of their older albums. Really like this. It's a droney. It's like they just stay on one note and they just jam. But this is, I'd have to look and see when this was recorded. I think this is an old, no, this is recorded in 2006 and 2012. So they're doing where we started with a lot of rock music, moving on from blues-based things where we're going to improvise, we're going to jam. And in the first days of jamming, you didn't know what to do. So you'd hit something, hit a stride, and just do it until you just stop. So this is in that vein of droney jams, but they go somewhere. They do. They take off. It's good. Tradgrass Oxtenar. Now here's the stuff where it's like I had to look at it. Traffic, Steve Winwood, Jim Capaldi, Chris Wood, the guys, Dave Mason. So we grew up with Traffic, right? You know, Steve Winwood before that, Spencer Davis. So it's like I have to have Traffic in my own mind. Of course, it's their early psychedelic songs that really got me into them. Paper Sun, 40,000 Headmen. So those songs were on here. Best of Traffic. Slightly beat cover. I've had it for quite a while. Really enjoyed this. What I noticed, though, that had never occurred to me before is how there's quite a similarity in Traffic and Procol Harum. I never really thought of that before, but as I was listening, it's like these guys are kind of like Procol Harum in some of this organy, melotronic stuff that they're doing. Just left of the church. But I listened to two more of their albums because these are records I picked up used inconsequentially. It's kind of like, oh, there it is for like $2 or $3. I'll get it. It's like I had never listened to this album all the way through. Kind of like the Pat Metheny the other day. There's a lot of records here that it's like, yeah, I probably never listened to that all the way through. Partially because of how I acquired it. Like I said, this was a used album after the fact. It's Traffic, so I'm going to get it. Enjoyed what I enjoyed on here. The more bluesy parts on here, it's like I skipped them. It's like I just don't care. Because, Steve Winwood is way into the black gospel thing, okay? And he does it well. But I'm not impressed. Never really was by that. The thing that I noticed on here on the jams with Roscoe G, is that his name? He said, now I hear why he was picked up by the band Can, because the cat in the hat there, I think that's Roscoe G, yeah, bass player. He joined Can after Holger Zukai stopped playing bass, and I could hear why they picked him up on this album. His bass playing was very, very rock solid, very excellent. And this one, I had never played this album, but it's like one that I got used years ago. Traffic on the Road. Just like, okay, there's Traffic. I'm not finding much else today. I'll get it. That's how these things happen. Because, you know how it is. Well, I don't know about you all. Here in Omaha, I can go looking and come up empty-handed, I imagine if I lived in Chicago or a bigger city, I would just be broke all the time. But on those times when I'm looking for good stuff and I can't find it, and this is in there, I get it. So I listen to this, and it's like interesting how they cut out the crowd clapping at the end of the songs. This is all right. Low Spark of High-Heeled Boys was enjoyable on here. But as I listened to it, I remarked to myself, this is the first time I'm listening to this album all the way through. Isn't that something? Think about it, folks. How many records do you all have where you've probably never listened to it all the way through? I've touched base on all these records, thinking I've listened to all of them, but I haven't. So that's been kind of cool. It's like rediscovering my own stash. I didn't get very far with this, but it's out to be played. This is good. This is from South America. Traffic Sound. The name of the band is Virgin. I have to look. It's either from Chile or Venezuela. Can I tell here? Oh, I can't tell. This is very, very, very good, though. They got it. This is back in the 70s. You can tell, you can hear that. But they weren't copying. They were copying, but they were making it their own. I can't see where. I'd have to look up online to see where this is from. It's a good album. Traffic Sound. They have another album that I'd like to get a hold of. Really enjoyed this all the way through. Richard Sinclair, RSVP, bass player from Caravan, Mr. Canterbury. I love it because, he makes fun of that stuff. Out Back in Canterbury, I didn't look at the name of it, but there's a song on here where he's just taking the piss out of the whole Canterbury scene, how people can be fanatics about it, what's Robert doing, and Kevin Ayers, and he just name checks, and it's funny. But musically, it's fantastic. It's that area, it's the Canterbury area where they're incorporating progressive sounds, jazz, keeping it fresh, and also with a focus on the players. Playing is important. Good playing. He's a good bass player. In my early days of bass playing, I found Richard Sinclair's bass lines to be very difficult to learn. It's gotten better over the years, but he's a very inventive bass player, and I personally think unrecognized. Like, people talk about Tony Levin being a very melodic bass player, and he's well regarded. Of course, he's well recorded, but I would put Richard Sinclair up there along with as being a very inventive and fantastic lyrical bass player. This got played. Soft Channel by Giant Claw on the Orange Milk label. This is more that slightly abstract, impressionistic, I think it's sample-based electronic compositions where things might seem kind of haphazard, but it's more like things appearing, popping up, and going back down, and then sliding across like this. I love stuff like this. It's just very, very cool for the imagination. Just love it. Then I'm gonna have to go here because shit, fucking bladder. Hall of the Mountain Grill. I was showing some singles and out of my collection online, and had pulled up this Hawkwind. It's still sitting out here. Psychedelic Warlords. Disappearing Smoke. It's an edit on this DJ promo that I have. Anyway, I was showing that, and it got me to play the album because I was trying to remember. I don't remember all the time what I have, and so I was like, "Yeah, I got that album." So I was able to listen to the entire version of Psychedelic Warlords. I love this band. So glad I got to see them with Lemmy and Dave Brock. Dave Brock is Hawkwind. I enjoyed this so much that I looked at some live Hawkwind online throughout the years, and they've had a lot of different members, but Dave always makes sure that that rhythm section has that sludgy groove. It can't be static. It's a straight beat, but it can't be static. It has to move. I love Hawkwind. This is a great album. And not this one, but the newest one. One of the best albums of the year. I haven't heard, well, no, I have heard a lot of stuff this year. Cutouts, The Smile. Every time I play it, it's like it reveals itself more. This is wonderful. Tom York's voice, the music, the way that they're always pushing it, Johnny Greenwood's guitar playing and his string arrangements. This is wonderful. Cutouts, really, really, really good. One of my albums of the year. And speaking of, this just was screaming at me. It was one of my albums of the year last year. Slow Dive. Man, this album is good. Everything is alive. They're still out on tour behind this album. Is so strong. And, you know, I don't blame them. It's like you got to strike while the iron is hot. You know, they were pretty much over, seemingly, after the 90s. And now they're back bigger than ever. And this album is just killer. I just love this album. I just love it. So besides working on my music, which there will be more. Oh, there's another one here. Steve Hillage, Open. I played just a little bit of this. I like Steve Hillage. His records are, you know, kind of half and half. You know, it's like they're interesting, but they're also playing with the idea of being commercially viable. And so this is an album like that, where it's like partially cool, partially like, okay. That's what I got for you, people. Hoping to hear about manufacture on the inner image CDs this week. Hoping to hear by the end of the week when it may be done. Honestly, that's one of the toughest parts of making product is waiting for it to be manufactured and delivered. So, half hour. Let's make it a good day. Family out everywhere. Love you. We're struggling, people, and it's going to get worse under Trump. So just do your best. Gambate, as they say in Japan. Do your best.